Howdy, friends and floor heads. It is Saturday and time for some Trail of Cthulhu. Brian, where did we leave us?
Well, we left three of us in a lovely little street corner cafe in Mexico City, where you were observing the building where one Jonathan Brooks apparently lives. He's the current subject of your investigations. You recently found out that he lives here, and no one seemed to have been in touch with him for a while, but you definitely want to try and find out what's going on there. So Alice sort of went around the corner and found some local street urchins and convinced one of them to deliver him a lovely flan, courtesy of Mr. Trammell, who was a person you met in Los Angeles. And then shortly after that, kid went in to deliver your package. He was followed by a gentleman that you recognized as someone who was observing another house that you were visiting and whom you thought convinced to give up this life of crime and go on vacation with his mother. But instead he's here. So, we see Sal and Adrian and James, sort of see this exchange going on and sort of consider what to do. But we're actually going to cut away to Alice to begin with. She has, as previously mentioned, a crowd of young, sort of 8 to 10-year-old street kids, all offering to help her in any way because they have seen her give away pesos and they could use some. And, just as you're kind of finishing up and I don't know, maybe thinking about going back to the rest of the group in the cafe, a man kind of gets out of his car across the street and comes over to you, kind of, probably about Alice's age, sort of heavy set. And he comes over and you see him, he like pulls a handful of change out of his pocket and sort of scatters it down the sidewalk and says, "Marchen, niños." So it's like, get out of here, kids. And they go running off after the coins. Then he sort of looks at you and he says, he starts in Spanish and then switches to English. Disculpe, señor, can you perhaps tell me about your interest in this building?
Alice is going to look him up and down. Does he seem criminal, rough type, or is he, does he seem like a rough type, or is he?
Where's he on the Sal scale? Is he 0 Sal or 10 Sal?
Does he holding a gun to my head right now? Is that something I haven't noticed yet?
Is he more like a thug, or is he more like a does he more look like a gentleman?
I mean, he looks like, he's well dressed.
Yeah.
He's well, I should say he's got like a nice suit on, but it looks a little rumpled. He doesn't have a mean look about him, but he also looks kind of I don't want to say withdrawn, but he looks like he sort of tends to keep his things to himself. He's a little hard to read. He doesn't look like an unfriendly man, and he's not being aggressive or anything about it, but he's also very direct.
Okay. Senor, we believe that perhaps an acquaintance of ours is living in the building, but he hasn't been seen for a while. We were trying to ascertain whether he is at home or not.
Is there a reason you did not go in and knock on his door?
Well, I say acquaintance. He's not necessarily a friendly acquaintance.
Ah, I see. Yes. I heard you mention Signor Trammell. Is this also an acquaintance of yours?
He is certainly somebody that I've met, yes.
And he kind of smiles a little bit as you say that. Alice, you notice that, the kids, who like ran off down the street picking up coins. One of the older kids, he's maybe 11 or 12, is kind of looking back over in your direction, kind of with a look of maybe concern. And he's like sort of trying to catch your eye.
Okay. So have you met Senor Tremel yourself?
No, I have not made it as far as Los Angeles, but Mr. Brooks is aware that Mr. Tremel may have some message for him of one kind or another. And I am simply trying to find out what that message might be, and if there is anything I need to do about it.
Well, I never mentioned that the acquaintance in the building was Mr. Brooks, so I'm glad to hear that apparently the message came across that we were looking for him.
Well, when you stop by Los Discos and the Studio del Mañana and the burned out remains of a record factory, it is not that difficult to, how you say, put the pieces together.
Well, it is our understanding that Mr. Brooks is not exactly in Mr. Tremel's good graces.
I
And
think it is safe to say that.
And we were wondering whether what Mr. Brooks wishes to do about that.
So, not to put too fine a point on this, but what is your relationship with Mr. Tremel?
Well, we may have taken something from Mr. Tremel that, and he might not be very happy with us either.
I see. So you are not delivering a message on his behalf.
Not necessarily.
And he sort of nods and thinks about that for a moment. So we cut back over to the trio at the cafe. You've just seen your kid and your thug disappear into the apartment building. What, if anything, are you planning to do about it?
Can you give me a sense, Brian, where this exchange Alice is having is relative to us in the cafe?
She's like just around the corner, so she's out of sight, but she's within earshot if she screamed or something, or vice versa. You could hear her, or she could hear you.
So I point to where our mama's boy walked by, and I turned to you, Adrian. You saw that, right?
Yep. Should I go see what he's up to?
I think that's a great idea. And I kind of like in a hey, get your attention sort of way, Sal. I kind of slap you with the back of my hand and I stand up and I start walking towards where our friend went in.
Okay.
I quickly just open the trunk, take something out, stick it, there's a flash of brass as he sticks it in his pocket, and then he pulls out a Louisville Slugger, shuts the trunk, starts to walk down.
Okay. Mac, are
Adrian tries to take the front. Adrian's trying to walk ahead of these two.
I'm imagining that Dr. Adrian has to like do a speed walk that turns into a skipping to get ahead of us, because I have violence in my mind.
I could tell. I sensed that.
Yeah.
All right. So who's in front, or do we need to roll for it?
No, I think Adrian is.
You let Adrian go.
Is
Okay.
fast enough. Yeah.
As we were all power walking, I am just constantly saying, we don't need more attention on ourselves now. So it's a time for shots. Let me go first. Just being very stern about this.
And as we're walking, I turn to you, Doctor, and I say, "You get first crack at this. We get all the cracks after."
I'm not sure it's the only one then.
So, you get to the door and open it up, and inside is a fairly nicely appointed lobby. It's got like the marble floors and stuff. There's like a set of mailboxes on one wall, and on the other side is what you'd guess is like a concierge desk. And there are a couple people there. There is a sort of a mid-30s, well-dressed man behind the desk, presumably the concierge, who is basically he is talking to your non-vacationing friend, who is actually looks like he's in the middle of writing something down on like a piece of hotel stationery or building stationery or something, and then the little kid that you saw go in earlier is kind of standing impatiently off to the side, holding this little, waxed paper bag, and clearly very impatient to get on with things. And the concierge behind the counter sort of looks up as you come in and says, "Can I help you?" And he sort of trails off as he notices Sal and the bat.
Oh, you brought the bat in. Oh, I did. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. A mood has been established.
I don't think Adrian registered that. Oh, sorry, baseball enthusiasts. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Cub fan. I'm a Cubby.
I'm sorry, my Spanish is not the best. We're just
I
visiting.
speak English if that is easier for you.
Oh,
ma'am.
thank you.
Or sir. Yeah.
Oh, either one's fine. Does not stop for that.
That seems to puzzle him for a moment, but we move on.
Yeah, sorry, we were just in the area visiting. We were just at the cafe trying to figure out places to stay, places to go, and didn't really know where to look. Sorry for taking up your time.
And Doc, while you're engaged with that receptionist, which is beautiful, it's exactly what James was hoping for, what I was hoping for. I'm going to come up and give that really uncomfortable, aggressive side hug to our friend.
Mhm.
And just the buddy, right? Just grab
Right.
him by his shoulder, press him into me, and go, "Billy, you're double parked," and start dragging him out of the building.
So yeah, so when you came in and when Adrian started speaking, you could see, because he was busy finishing whatever it was he was writing down, and he sort of did this look up and then kind of just looked down and kept writing. I'm not here, nobody notices nothing. It is clear that doesn't work, and so you grab the guy and start hustling out, and the concierge steps up and says, "Senor, please, this is. I do not want any visitors assaulted in my property."
We agree. That's why we're going outside.
James.
Yes.
He doesn't say your name, but one moment. Sorry about all this to the concierge. I walk over to you. Crack.
Okay, I'm going to stand right here.
When we said vacation, we did mean a bit more distance than this, right? You can do so much better.
He says, "Listen, how do you think I am able to afford that place my mama lives? I tried to tell her I wanted to get out, but she would not have it."
I know. I've met a lot of people in this line of business. I've been in the business of helping them get out as best I could. Don't know if I have the resources now, but we can figure this out. So your mom's the one who kind of wants to stay in?
This is this is the best job I've ever had.
Oh, damn it. I don't want to like this guy.
It's too bad.
Sal kind of shifts the bat and says, "Well, I can help you get out."
So?
In not a pleasant way.
I appreciate the forwardness. All right. It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, you're the carrot, I'm the stick.
Anyways, so I imagine your mom appreciates the security of it then.
It's good money.
And you would need a good way to get out. Some way to get out quiet, yeah?
I mean, yeah, but I also need a way to make a living.
I get that. I've met a lot of people who've had to do a lot worse to get by. But you gotta understand, what they're messing with isn't just some low-level organized crime. This is a lot more, something you don't want your soul dealing with whenever you get past here.
What do you think I should do?
I have a history of forging documents. It's not too difficult to get some papers in place. Easy enough to get you to Texas, at least. You go from there. I've
But
gotten people out of
first,
worse.
I'm going to interrupt.
Mhm.
But first, out of curiosity, friend, tell me about the note you were writing.
My job was to keep an eye on that house and report if anybody came by. So I'm writing my report.
Excellent. How I think I don't know if you understand this or not, but Dr. Fisher here, my friend, is an exquisite documents acquirer. I think that the promise that they made for you is a promise that they're going to keep. So, in return, how difficult would it be for you to get Mr. Brooks to come down and visit?
I mean, I don't know if he's even here.
We
I
can,
mean,
we can
I
find out,
haven't
right?
seen him in weeks.
Would you be allowed upstairs?
I never have been.
Not the question I asked.
I mean, I don't know. Ask him. He points to the concierge, and you notice that he has, taken the bag from the kid, um, given him like a nickel or something, and the kid, sort of is heading towards the door, kind of craning his neck to see what's going
Yeah.
on with this little exchange. But he seems to be headed out.
Okay. I turn to you, Doc, and I say, I think we need to get upstairs. I think, and maybe if our friend here can help us, Sal. At any point we can go check to make sure our friend's mother is okay, right? We remember exactly where she lives. Good, good. So if at any point we were concerned that she wasn't safe, we could find her quickly and make sure she's okay.
Absolutely.
Good, 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 good.
And you see him kind of hanging his head. He clearly gets the message.
Yeah. And like my facial expression to you, Doctor, is this is you now. I've said my piece. I want to get upstairs.
All right. I will say I'm more equipped to handle a different language when it comes to documents, but we do have a friend who is a much better speaker than me, so we'll be able to read everything. I'll be able to find any official places I need to go, figure out who to talk to. Best I can do is get you and your mom to Texas. From there, you'll probably have to go a bit further up north to get a bit more away. But first, you do need to help us as best you can.
So I'm going to need you to spend me a point of reassurance here to convince him that you can and will actually do these things.
Shall do.
Okay. And he's clearly under a lot of stress, but he also knows that he's kind of backed into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, I'll do what I can.
And worst comes to it, we'll figure something else. There's a few different routes to go besides the U.S. Fewer down south, few further up north. I'll be able to get you somewhere, but you need to help us get up there.
And he kind of again sort of shrugs and gestures at the concierge, who you notice is kind of leaning against the back wall of his area, conspicuously next to the wall phone.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks like he's just waiting for there to be trouble.
Does the concierge know our friend as well, or unaffiliated?
I don't think so. I mean, he passed message. He probably knows him as a resident.
Is he the one who's seen you dropping off notes? Then,
Mhm. Yes.
so if we all leave here on good terms, and we say that we go up and we know you, I mean, he knows that you know him.
We can try, I guess.
Just a bit of friendly conversation. Pass it off.
He shrugs and says, "Okay," and turns back to the concierge, assuming
Wait.
James lets him.
We have, you remember the dear lady. We have to catch her as well before we go up. I don't think she'd want us running off on our own.
Maybe send Sal for her.
Okay. So, if Sal heads out, we're going to cut back to Alice and her new friend. And he kind of looks Alice over. Alice, I think I could also use like maybe a reassurance spend from you.
Sure.
And
Yes, sorry.
yeah, because he kind of looks you up and down for a moment and then kind of nods to himself and he says, "Here is my situation. Mr. Brooks has hired me to keep an eye on a number of locations of interest to him because he believes that this Mr. Trammell, as you say, may not be on good terms with him right now, and he is worried that someone will be coming to look for him. But I mean, I'm happy to do this job, but as I am doing this, there is an arson and there is a murder, and I'm beginning to worry that Mr. Brooks is maybe someone I do not want to be taking money from. So can you maybe tell me something more about what he's involved in?"
And Alice is going to look at him and then, assuming she's got, can I spend assess honesty to get a bit of a feeling on whether he's
I will say you don't need to spend that. You're
Okay.
pretty good at it.
Okay.
You get the feeling that he feels like he's being honest to you. It's like he's gotten caught up in this thing and he's starting to have second thoughts.
Okay. Then Alice is gonna pause for a moment and then take a leap of faith and say, he is, both Trammell and Brooks are caught up in very dangerous, very bad matters. And we are looking to put a stop to that. And your impression that the arson and all those other matters that Mr. Brooks is involved with, that is does not come as a surprise to us. We fully expect that. They seem to be involved in some kind of drugs. It's something that's not right, and we are here to set it right. And well, it's your insights would be very helpful.
Well, I'm afraid I do not have much in the way of insights. You've been to most of the places he asked me to keep an eye on. And
have you seen Mr. Brooks recently?
No,
because we're.
I didn't even see him when he hired me. I got a letter. But I come by sometimes. I drop off reports here, and every once in a while, there's a report thing waiting for me telling me to expect a phone call, and it tells me another place to look at. But
yes, well, these are, well, as you've seen from the arson, very dangerous people. So that was why we were trying to be circumspect, but apparently not circumspect enough. With
I
trying
like to think I'm pretty good at my job.
Yeah, well, of course you are. Well, that's clear. You are. To be honest, you are. We encountered similar trackers in Los Angeles for Mr. Trammell, but they were not as good at their job as you are. So
Kind of tips his hat.
yeah, Senor. So yes, we have. We've hunted down pretty much all our leads and are now looking to find out if Mr. Brooks is at home or see if we can gain access in some manner while keeping everybody else safe, because these are people who do not hesitate to, collateral damage to them is not something that they care about, but we're trying our best to minimize it.
This seems smart to me. So I think I will not be putting anything in my report about you. And if you are willing, if there is a place that I can get information to you if I find anything that could help, I believe you, is the short version. And I'm not too interested in, sticking my neck out, but I think you are doing the right thing. And I think you've given me the information I need to make a good decision. And then you see his eyes kind of flick up over your shoulder, and he kind of straightens up a little bit, and you, glancing back, you can see Sal coming around the corner holding a baseball bat.
And Alice will reach out and just put her hand on the senor's arm and says, well, it seems like my backup has arrived. This has been a very pleasant conversation. I will give him, let's say, if you want to leave us a message, if we can agree that we can, if we can correspondence through, let's see, the post office. Does that make sense? That I could say is that we will arrange for a. It would be good to have eyes in Mexico City, because I think that once we have determined taking care of Mr. Brooks, there are others that also need to be taken care of. We will. I will put a post office box under the name of Senor, and she'll look to him for a name.
Del Toro.
Senor Del Toro. We will open a deposit box under Del Toro for both of us to exchange our findings.
Okay, he says.
Okay.
Well,
So,
muchas
gracias, Senor.
Yes, thank you very much for your assistance. And he kind of nods at Sal and takes a few steps back before turning around and going back to his car.
Okay.
Sal kind of half salutes with a baseball bat.
And Alice is going to look at Sal and say, well, that's... and as she walks towards him, says, well, it seems that... did I see the young man go into the building or not?
No, you were already around the corner.
Okay, so
yeah.
It seems that Mr. Brooks was not just paying one person to keep an eye on things, and well, the young man is of course off on a holiday, but we now have our own set of
he's not. He's in the hotel over there.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. I just spoke to Senor Del Toro.
He's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive.
Important clarification.
Okay.
For now.
Good. Well, I think at least Senor Del Toro has also been asked to watch out in all kind of places, and he's been apparently following for us for a while. But he was, I think he was a bit like our detective friend private detective friend in Los Angeles, not involved, but just being hired. And he didn't feel very comfortable with all that he'd seen. So he won't put us in his report. And we now also have eyes in Mexico City. But the young man's in the lobby. Where is everybody, by the way?
Oh, they're having a conversation with him.
Okay.
It's good. It's good. James has got his piece holstered. It's fine.
Okay. So what are we doing now?
Let's go over and talk to them. They can fill you in.
Okay. Alice will follow.
Make your way back around into the lobby, where basically it's kind of a weird standoff because your friend is kind of slump shouldered in James's not quite grip, and the concierge is just watching you like he's a teacher overseeing detention and waiting for somebody to misbehave. Just as the two of you get back into the lobby, there's kind of a clanking mechanical sound from like the back wall of the lobby, and you see that there's an elevator back there and it starts going up.
Mm-hmm.
Are we on the elevator?
You are not on the elevator.
Okay.
You are in the lobby.
Okay.
And you did not see anyone get in the elevator.
Yeah.
So the elevator was
It might be
called
called. Someone's calling the elevator.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think Alice is going to look at the scene and then walk towards the concierge and say, buenos dias, senor.
Good day, senor.
Is everything all right?
I mean, you came in with Sal, so here he says, well, I am not sure. Your friends came in here and were manhandling a guest of one of our residents. And it sounds to me like there are some threats being exchanged. And this is not the sort of thing that happens in this establishment.
What? We've not even started manhandling this kid.
Disculpe. My associates are, and this is all in Spanish. Accented Spanish, but it's understandable. My American friends, they are not very subtle. We are here to see Mr. Brooks.
I'm afraid Mr. Brooks is not in. Alice would notice at this point there's the little bag from the cafe is like sitting on the counter behind the concierge thing.
Oh well, that is very disappointing. Do you have any idea when he was last in?
I'm afraid I do not.
Okay.
And you have enough honesty, assess honesty to tell you that, if I do, I'm not going to tell you random people off the street about my guests.
Of course. Well, in that case, can I leave a message for Senor Brooks?
Of course, he says, and he pulls out a piece of stationery and a pen and passes it across.
Okay. So, and Alice is going to, she'll look back at the others and then she's going to write down in English, Senor Trammell sends both Dulce and his regards. And then if you would like to get back in his good graces, meet at and
there was a park fairly near the hotel that you guys used before.
That's where we do things.
Meet at that park. and then the next day at noon.
All right, so that would be Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. As you're finishing that note, there is a soft ding from the elevator in the back. The door slides open, and a woman who looks like she's about 200 years old shuffles out with this weird part Chihuahua, part something else dog, and kind of just walks out, like doesn't even appear to notice any of what's going on here or the baseball bat or anything else. She just kind of looks over to the concierge. She got these thick Coke bottle glasses, and she's like, "Buenos dias, Oscar." "Buenos dias, Mrs. Gutierrez." And she, takes the dog and shuffles on out the door, and it takes like 5 minutes for her to cross the room among you.
I think Adrian would actually get up to try and like help her walk if she needed it. If not, he won't.
Open the door.
No, she looks like she's just slow. She's competent. But I mean, if you open the door, she kind of gracias, and then shuffles out.
De nada, señora.
Okay. And, Alice will fold the note, put it on top of the dulce, turn around to the others and say, well, are we taking Juan? Juan, are you joining us for dinner?
He kind of looks at you and says, I don't think, did we give him a name before? I don't think you ever got his name. Because he says, my name is Mateo. And I would rather not, but I feel like you're going to tell me.
I mean, if need be, Mateo, we can go check with your mom to get permission. Would you like us to do that?
Look, just tell me what you want.
I think we should probably move this conversation to the conversation outside to the restaurant.
To the cafe?
And Juan and Alice, there's a bit of a glint in her eye, she deliberately says Juan. So, and Juan, you'll tell, Juan, Juan, you can confirm to Oscar that you're fine, right?
And Oscar, obviously heard this entire conversation and looks over, and Mateo / Juan just kind of looks over at Oscar and shrugs and says, he's fine, I guess. And Oscar doesn't look entirely happy with it, but
upon seeing the glint in Alice's eye, Sal kind of leans over to James and whispers in his ear, "She's going to run him over. I'm sure of it."
Yeah, and I just give you the nod. And now I'm contemplating, am I holding him or protecting him at this point?
A bit of both. And Adrian will just lean over to Mateo and say, I'll get you something if you come with us.
And he kind of looks over and says, what choice do I have? And he will accompany you where you lead him.
This is feeling more and more unethical by the second.
So we leave the building, I'm
Okay.
assuming? Okay.
Sure.
wanted
Oscar's
that
death
whole day
stare
would have said
following you the
Boy
whole way
Scouts.
out.
What was that, Chris?
If they wanted ethical, they would have sent the Boy Scouts.
To the cafe.
Sure. The folks, they've like just finished clearing up the table you left. Like, oh, welcome back, senors. Senor. Then they put you at another table next to the one you were at before.
So we sit down, and then I'm like, so I see that Juan, we've decided to stay friends, stay here.
I thought I was going to be going to Texas. And he looks at Adrian.
That is the plan. Kind kind of looks confusedly. I was just like, not quite sure why you keep saying Juan. But
Okay. Well, then Alice is just, sees, okay, that Adrian's arranged this, and then we'll shrug and like, well, okay, your play.
So
Hey,
Brooks isn't here.
can we get some dinner or something here?
Oh yeah. No, they come by with the menus and
Yeah.
you know.
So Brooks isn't here.
No. He hasn't been here for a while.
I would assume Alice would have informed us of her new friend.
Well, not necessarily while
Not in
Juan's
front of Juan.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair, fair, fair.
not in front of Juan.
Yep. Let's start off with him, and I kind of nudge over at Mateo. Mateo, I think you need some time off. I understand. We're going to get back to you. The good doctor has made some arrangements. We're going to need a little bit of time. I think in the meantime, once you enjoy some time off, no reporting or monitoring needed. We will be back, and we'll be in contact with you. And what kind of flowers does your mother like?
And he does this sort of, why are you asking me this question kind of thing. Carnation.
Beautiful. So we're going to bring some carnations over tomorrow, and we'll connect with you and kind of give you how we're going to get you, and then if you want your mother up to Texas and free of this life. And as the good doctor said, this is more than just you're more than at risk of going to jail. This is far more dangerous. And there's a day where you're going to remember us and be thankful that we intervened here. You may not like us now, but we're saving your life. Run back home to Mama. We're going to bring some carnations over to make peace with her tomorrow. And we'll start figuring out how we get you up to the States.
if I may make a suggestion, Brooks does not seem very in on what's happening anymore. I would say it may be best for Mateo's safety for him to continue leaving notes on what's happening. Just simply has to say everything is going normal. That's the extent of what you have to say. As long as the notes are received, doesn't really need to know anything else, just in case.
That makes me realize, Mateo, you said you were leaving a report for Mr. Brooks when we crossed paths. What was that report?
I was telling him that I found some people at Cortez's house. Put in some descriptions of you as best I could. I didn't get much past that.
Okay. So you're not due for a report in the next couple of days. That covers you for the next couple of days?
I mean, whenever I have news, really, but I wasn't planning to do another one.
I don't think there's much to report here in the next few days, Mateo.
And he kind of looks very sort of awkwardly at you, and he says, I told Mama that I was also going to be picking up my pay today.
And how much would that be?
Functionally, it would be a point of credit rating spent in the short term.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, Alice has got a bit of a stony look, but she's not saying anything. Alice is being very conspicuously silent.
I just lean over, not even trying to whisper, even if he's lying at this point. This guy's been through enough. I'm already having a lot of issues with the ethics of what we're doing. I'd rather just deal with this one. just like, I'm sorry, man. And yeah, we'll give one credit rating.
Okay.
And it's kind of just in the corner making plans for all the documents need to get, like, just kind of mumbling stuff like, okay, Alice can help us make sure we got the medical documents all sound. James maybe would help us with any police documentation needed. Then whenever we get to Texas, we'll be able to contact our friend, the pilot, and get him up a bit further north. Just going off on one in his own little world.
Yeah.
Sal kind of when Alice, it's obvious that Alice is overly quiet. Sal looks at James and goes honk honk.
All right. If
I
it's
tell
all
you.
right, I'd like to shuffle him off. If
Okay.
everybody's comfortable with that.
And actually, when he gets his pay from Adrian, he kind of looks over and says, "Do you want me to get back the note that I didn't finish in there?"
That'd be great.
Okay. And he sort of gets up and
Sal
like as
stops
if
him.
he's Mhm.
Sal stops him and he takes a sum of cash, equal to
Mhm.
1 credit rating,
Right.
and hands it to him. He says, "For Mama. Buy her something nice."
And he looks confused, but he's like, "Gracias," and he puts it away. And like he starts leaving the cafe and going across the street, like he's expecting at any moment someone to kidnap or shoot him, or something to fall out of the sky and hit him. But he kind of goes back into the apartment building, comes out a minute or two later, has a piece of paper which he kind of holds up and then crumples up into a ball and throws in a garbage can. And then he just kind of waves and heads off down the street.
James,
Yep.
just make sure the carnations aren't orange.
You get a smirk out of me.
All right.
So now what are we gonna do? And I'm locked eyes with Alice.
Well, Juan was not the only one being paid to watch while you guys were meeting up with him inside. I met up with a Senor Del Toro. Apparently, Mr. Brooks had hired a similar detective, I don't know, private investigator to keep an eye on things. And he'd also been leaving reports, but he'd been seeing all the arson, etc., and was feeling increasingly uncomfortable about it. So I spoke with him, and we've agreed to set up I think that he's happy to work for us now. He will leave us out of the reports. I'm going to set up a drop box at the post office on the Senor Del Toro, so that we at least have, assuming once we take care of this, we have somebody in Mexico who I think that we can trust. And then unspoken, more than Juan / yeah. To keep an eye on things. But yeah, other than that, at the moment, I think we want to get up in the I don't see how we can get up into the building now, into the apartment. We've all been seen by the concierge. I think that most we can hope that Mr. Brooks is going to turn up to where he's been invited. And otherwise, what time is it?
It's probably mid to late afternoon, maybe like a 4
Okay,
p.m.
So we still have some afternoon. The thing is, do we try and come back here at night and get upstairs, or we look into the other address where Mr. Brooks's lady friend used to live?
And I'm okay with that, Alice. I feel like I need a reminder of what the hell we're doing here. Do we think that Brooks is afraid? Do we think he?
He's definitely worried. He's worried about. That's what I gathered from Mr. Del Toro. He's worried about what Ortega,
Trammell?
Trammell, sorry. What Trammell? He's worried about Trammell. But Mr. Brooks, I don't think Mr. Brooks is our friend either. So the arson we read that he's up to something that's definitely no good.
Well,
But
looking at the records we found, it seems the operation in this area of the world has only been going on for about 2 years. I think all of this is pretty frantic. It's very likely he could have just gotten himself caught up in something he didn't realize, and is trying really hard to cover his own tracks now that he knows everything.
or he's trying to get out, or he's moved. We had the postcard, didn't we, from
Yucatan.
sending him?
From
Yeah.
Merida, yeah.
So he might have left, but I think other than breaking into the building, perhaps this evening, and I don't really want to end up in a Mexico City jail if we can avoid that. We have one address left to check. See if he or somebody else turns up at the place where we left the note.
So the
And-
goal, it
Yes.
sounds to me, Alice, like our goal is to, and I guess I don't want to lose the forest through the trees, right? Our goal is to stop these operations. I think we all agree that this is very dangerous. So would it be fair to say that we need to figure out if Brooks is continuing the work?
Mm.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I vote we go check out this other address. And then decide how the hell we're going to make sure that Mr. Brooks is not continuing his work.
Okay. So
Also, before we do leave the area, if you're just kind of looking around, and like if we're in a plaza or anything,
mhm.
it's just gonna be kind of, as we're leaving, keeping an eye out for the abuela that left. We're just really hoping she makes it back okay.
Yeah, probably as you guys are finishing up your afternoon meal, she comes shuffling back down the road with her dog and heads back into the building with no sign of any trouble.
Excuse me, senora.
See?
I'm so sorry to bother you. I was just wondering, what we're trying to figure out if somebody has been in, but we don't know if they've been around for a while. If they know the floor, we'll just say the floor. Do you know anybody on that floor, perchance?
It's the penthouse. And so, she kind of listens to you and nods, and then when you finish, she kind of says, "Okay."
And Alice will come over and say, okay, Senora, disculpe. Do you know the gentleman living on the penthouse, Senor Brooks?
And she says, "Oh, yes, the gringos, the Norte Americano.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
I see him once or twice, but not any time recent.
Okay.
I think he's maybe on vacation or something."
Is he a good neighbor?
Oh, he's I mean, I am on the third floor, so he's fine for me. I think sometimes the people who are up under the penthouse said they used to have lots of loud parties and loud love making. They are young, very young. He and his little girlfriend or wife or whatever. But you didn't hear that from me, okay?
She's been dying to tell somebody.
And you always go to the abuela when you want to get gossip. Go find the aunties, go find the abuelas. They're going to tell you what you need to know.
But I do not know really. It's all what I hear.
Oh, well, then muchas gracias and very good evening. Thank you for this. And she'll
Okay.
hold the door open. So.
Que tengas un buen
Gracias.
noche, señora. Gracias.
Okay. And she
Great
heads
movie.
back inside.
So that answers a big question for us at a meta level, which is that he is. We've got some ritual stuff still happening here. He is very.
But
much
it's
involved.
but it seems like it's been a while. It seems like he's.
Yeah.
So let's check out the girlfriend or the wife.
Okay. Well, while we head across town to that address, why don't we take a short break? Let everybody get caught up and take a bio break as needed, and we'll be back shortly.
Be back in 10.
Thank you.
We're clear. are back.
All right. You guys get your vehicle and start heading over to the address on the matchbook, which is back on the edge of that sort of Coyoacan, that sort of artsy district that you have visited a number of places in before. The building is like a 3-story apartment building. It's older. Quaint is probably a fair adjective for it. It's got like a courtyard in the garden and, outdoor stairways going up to the doors of the individual apartments. You're looking for number 18, which is on the 3rd floor. And there's no constant. You're very. I see what you did
Big
there.
fan.
Yeah. You're able to make your way up there. There's no lobby or anything you need to go through. You are standing outside the door.
I make it very obvious and I have a certain self-awareness that I think Dr. Adrian is our best door knocker.
Okay.
Perhaps Sal and James. Is there a peephole in the door?
There is not. This is fairly old.
I'm ready to follow orders, though. Does Alice think that Sal and I should be somewhere else?
Perhaps just not in immediate eyesight when the door opens.
Fair.
Or to the side.
Yep. We give you some
Step
space.
inside. Yep.
Okay.
Did we know whether the wife was American or Spanish?
The name you were given was Leticia de la Luz, which certainly sounds
Spanish.
Hispanic.
Yeah, she's from Michigan.
Yeah.
Allison, I'd say Alice and Adrian, stand in front of the door together.
Just trying to remember, Leticia was the name that was on the matchbox, was it? That the address was
Yes.
it? Okay. I'll just ask Alice to kind of just have that ready, just in case.
You knock on the door, and after 30 seconds, a minute, there's no answer. You don't hear any sound of any activity inside.
You get the shall we look from me.
Are there are there more doors on this?
Yeah, there's probably like 7 apartments on this floor total. They're all. It's kind of like a.
Is there a fire exit?
A U shape. No, probably not. This building's low enough that it wouldn't need a fire escape.
Okay, just checking.
Alice will knock again.
Okay, still no answer.
And I think that Alice is going to look to Sal and James and perhaps, raise an eyebrow and step aside and shrug like.
And I don't know if we've seen this yet or not, but immediately you see me reach into my inside breast pocket and I pull out like this leather folder, right? And as you see me unfold it, you see it's a series of tools. And I get down on one knee and just kind of look to Sal and look to everybody. And, I put one tool at the top, one tool at the bottom, and you see me starting to mess with the lock.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very long. This is a generic apartment door lock, so there's nothing fancy about it. So in under a minute, you're kind of like, there we go, and it is now unlocked.
My hand's on the doorknob, and I look back to Allison and Adrian. Like,
Alice will nod and like, okay, let's move in now.
Okay, so I open the door. With my left hand on the knob, my right hand is in my jacket on my piece.
Okay. So you come inside. This looks like it's basically a 2-room apartment. There's like a bedroom off there with a little ensuite bathroom, and then everything else like living room, kitchenette, and everything is all in this kind of front room. And the first thing you notice as you walk in is that this looks like this place has been rifled through. I mean, drawers are pulled out. There's like a wall of pictures on the wall with one of them missing. There's a bunch of things that are spread out on the floor. But James, as you look at it, having been in having investigated places like this before, this doesn't look like it was a ransack or a robbery. This looks like somebody was packing in a hurry. You can see that there is like, there's an expensive looking camera on the counter. So if somebody was robbing it, they would have taken that. There's a nice woman's watch in the jewelry box on the dresser, and like some jewelry has been taken, but some more has been left. So this was not a robbery.
Yeah. And I open up the closet and see the empty hangers.
Yeah.
And I said, someone else has gone on vacation, it would appear.
I'm assuming everybody like has come in and shut the door behind you at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you start looking around. There is
Looking for any indication where, right?
Okay.
If there's just something that's a ticket, a note, that can give me any indication where our vacation spot might be.
There are some scattered papers around, and you're looking through them to try and figure out if any of them give any indication of where this person might have gone. Among them, some of the things you catch is there's what looks like a flyer for some sort of band or musical performance. And there is also you see there's like an opened letter, and when you look at it, you see the return address is from Brooks at that penthouse apartment building address that you had before, and that's not the right one. It looks like it's some kind of poem that he has written for this woman.
Oh, good.
But but yeah, looking around, there's not any immediate indication of where they might have gone. You do notice that there are a couple of, like I said, there's a number of pictures on the wall, photographs, whatever. And there are a couple of them that seem to picture this young Latina woman, but both of those have like had the glass smashed and the picture itself kind of gouged and damaged, so you can sort of see some of what they might have looked like, but it's pretty badly damaged. And they're both pictures of the same woman, and you don't see any other pictures of her on the wall.
That is something. This is not something she would have done on her way out to vacation. So
Something tells me that a lovebird might have gotten the jump on their friend and made it to Merida before him. And this poem
real quick, I'm sorry, just real quick. This is all right. So we've got our record producer guy that we left on the couch at his place. We've got Brooks. This poem is from Brooks.
Right.
And
so
we've known this woman as his love interest, or
so apparently what Cortez, the producer, told you is that she was a singer that he started working with and also started having a relationship with.
We got a triangle. Okay.
Yep, exactly. She changed her name and started doing this stuff. She recorded an album with him and apparently was working on another one, which is what led to the record company deciding they didn't want to produce it because it was evil, and then the record company burned down. So this is his lover / singing person.
But the poem tells us that Brooks has feelings towards her as well.
Right? Oh yeah, no, sorry. When I said this is Brooks. Brooks is sort of her manager /
Got it.
lover.
Okay, so we have no
there is not a third person as far as you can see.
Got it.
This does not appear to be a triangle.
All right. I didn't mean to overtalk you, Adrian.
No, it's
I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Mac, I think you were saying something about the poem.
Oh, yeah, it's weird. It definitely fits the theme that we've been catching.
How so?
Have you read it?
I have, but I'm not as smart as you, Adrian.
I just meant the very odd fixation on mouths and songs. Also names. I'm concerned as to where they're getting these mouths from at this point. A lot of occult figures we're doing rituals, but also sacrifices. Is it possible they were grooming her to become a mouse?
Hmm. I don't know. So is it safe? Do we feel like she went with him potentially, right? That they skipped town together. Who defamed her pictures though? That's the part that confuses me.
Well, it looks like the mouth particularly is
Right.
defaced.
So
Could have been her.
you
A
think
loss of
something,
identity can often cause people to lash out at memories of former existence, former times. I'm not sure it was her, but there's a possibility that
I just don't know who
if
else it could be, right? So Doctor, can you get a sense at all from the staging? And I pull one of the pictures down and I hand it to you, right? Where we see this, the scratching, the breaking. Can you get a sense of a state of mind from this?
I can try. Can I tell if it seems frantic or very calculated, all the scratches, or a mix of both?
Why don't you give me a psychoanalysis roll of difficulty 4?
Shall do. Let's see. I'll spend 2 points.
Okay.
2 points. All right. If I can remember how to do it real quick. There we go.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, as you look at this, you feel like your instinctive reaction there was correct. This looks like I mean, you get the sense that maybe the initial, break through the glass may have been kind of a momentary, just kind of a rash action, but then clearly it was very carefully done to remove all traces of that portion of the face. And then, like, looking at the second picture, it was also broken through the glass, but it strikes you as a little more calculated. So this definitely seems like something that was done not in a rage, but as someone that had something specific that they were trying to do.
There's definitely intentionality here. It looks like there's an impulse at first, breaking through the first picture frame, but from there it's all intentional.
And
Yep.
and as you're going through some of the other stuff here, just kind of looking around at everyone else, there's actually a photo album which has a number of other pictures, and all the pictures that show the same woman have been sort of systematically defaced in that same way.
I think she may be in trouble. In a different kind than we realized.
Yeah, but where did she go? Where did they go?
Yucatan. They're trying to find that monolith. They're trying to start a ritual, I suppose. Some kind of transformation.
I think, Doctor, between the poem and your assessment of this, assuming it's her that did it, she's the one that's been singing.
Yes.
She might be a key to whatever this is.
Exactly.
How confident are the four of us that that's where they went, or is this the only guess we have?
I think it's the only guess, and Yucatan is a huge place. We need more than that.
We have the
need more than
specific
that.
ziggurat to go to.
Do we?
It was the postcard.
Well, it occurs to you that that postcard is probably something that you pick up at a convenience store in Merida.
Gotcha.
This is it's one of the biggest and most famous ones at this point.
Oh,
so
gotcha,
that doesn't
gotcha.
necessarily mean
Oh,
that's
that's
where they were going.
Sorry, that was like a specific spot kind of thing.
So how can we figure out? I mean, I've been looking through this place. There's no indication of where she went. Just that she went, she packed. This was done by her. Now we see these pictures. We know Brooks is gone. I mean, I'm all for going to the Yucatan, but It's
We
like going
need
to
more
Texas and saying we're
information
going
than
to look
this.
for somebody, right?
We could try Leticia's connections. We could go to La Paz or find Javier Luna. And Alice, what does that say? Sus tontos sonrientes. What does that mean?
All his
It's
smiles, something
yeah,
like
it's like his grinning fools is how it's
Oh,
probably
how on
intended to be
theme.
translated.
How on theme.
What do we? All right, hold on a second. Where is our flyer? Where is this place?
It's actually maybe a half a mile from here.
Well,
Anybody
perhaps
up
we
for
take
dancing?
in a show this evening. Ask when she's last been seen. Anybody has any ideas and because the only other place I can think of is Brooks's apartment, and that's going to be a trickier one to get into.
So I'm in the mood for live music, and I turned to you, Sal, and I said, "And you're not wearing that."
What? What is wrong with what I'm wearing?
Need you
You
to dress
don't-
up a little bit,
This is not dressed up enough.
Sal.
Okay, whatever.
You've trusted me with your life. Trust me on this one.
But can I keep the sombrero?
Oh, you can keep it all. You keep it all. I just don't. At this point, I would like for the four of us to go tonight to listen to music, and I don't want anybody handing you a guitar.
Also, is there any preference to which face I put forward? More feminine, more masculine? Which do you think would be best for this situation?
Probably would make more sense for us to go as two couples. So that doesn't answer the question. But
I'm fine with either, just whatever will make it easiest on us.
I have no strong feelings either way, Doctor. Whatever you think would be the best mask to wear, or the best presentation to offer.
I can quick change fast enough. I'll just bring a I'll just bring a sundressing case.
Okay. Fair enough.
It also occurs to me that there's probably a servant's entrance into the hotel, and very likely that won't have a direct line of sight to the concierge's desk.
Well, just to be clear, it's an apartment building rather than a hotel.
Okay.
So factor that into your decisions.
I think Sal, we need to keep thinking about getting into Brooks's apartment. But I want to see if we can get any answers from this club. There might be somebody that knows Brooks or knows her. Says, yeah, they said they were headed to resort blah blah blah. Let's do a little bit of networking as patrons.
Sounds good to me.
If they were leaving without intention of coming back, is it possible she has a spare key here?
Oh, to Brooks's. Look at you.
You've done a pretty thorough search and you have not found any keys. But it's interesting when you mention, leaving without coming back, you have a feeling that they left, a fair amount of good stuff here. So you wouldn't think, if you had to guess, you'd say this was not intended to be a permanent, running away kind of thing.
Oh, so they may be coming back any day now. Seeing the time frame of when they were missing letters, it would have been within the past 2 weeks. They could be on their way back now.
Looking at the number of empty hangars, is there any way we can gauge how many days she packed for?
Ooh, look at you.
Is there a
applying
calendar on the wall
Yes,
with
with date circled? Ritual today.
Yeah. Oh wow, there it is. Wow. Has the address too, all of it.
No, you would say, assuming they're not going to a place where they're doing laundry or whatever. Certainly a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So this is not an overnight trip, clearly.
But it sounds like we potentially could have Brooks and his better half returning any day now as well. So, all right, let's go dancing.
All right. So you guys make your way back out of the apartment, find your way over to La Paz, which is kind of in the heart of Coyoacan. It's it's a little adobe building with a clay tile roof and the wrought iron shutters, and it's not a dive, but you can see dive from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of thing where it's got the high ceiling and the electric fans and the frescoes on the walls, and the floor it's not sticky, but it's dirty. It's clearly seen a lot of wear and tear over the years. At the moment, it's pretty quiet. The bartender is there, and there's like a couple guys on stools at one end of the bar arguing over something in Spanish. And there's one single younger woman kind of sitting in a booth by herself reading. But it's a pretty quiet stop at the moment. But you come on in, and the bartender kind of gives a wave.
What is the date today, by the way?
This is still Tuesday, July 9th.
Okay, so the flyer is from a couple of months ago.
I think
Okay.
the flyer is from a
13
year ago.
April. Oh, a year ago.
December 1934, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
so
April.
April.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think perhaps Alice will take the flyer. Shall I ask at the counter whether she's going to be here tonight?
Okay.
Or when she's booked again, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So you head up to the bartender, and he gives the sort of vibe of ex-military, maybe ex-sailor. He's got a lot of tattoos on him. You see like Maria, and then under that Elena, and then under that Isabella, and lots of bleeding hearts and stuff. But
Okay.
says, Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, señor. In her best Spanish, and
Mhm.
she'll put the flyer on the counter. We were wondering whether Senora de la Luz, Leticia de la Luz, will be appearing tonight, or perhaps tomorrow.
And he kind of takes the flyer and turns around and looks at it. He says, she used to sing here a lot, but it's been I don't know, this may have been their last show or close to it. She used to hang out with this American guy. He was a good snappy dresser, but he never tipped.
Now
I don't think we have any plans to bring her back. I mean, Javier and his band are here every week. They're here every Friday night.
Okay.
But if you want to ask about De La Luz, and he kind of gestures to the younger woman who was sitting by herself, Elena actually does all the bookings, so she might have a better idea.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And then she'll take out and say, for the table over there where the other three are sitting, I'd say, could we have a round of drinks? And she'll very clearly tip.
Okay.
Like,
and he kind of nods in a satisfied way and starts pouring some cervezas.
Yes.
Bring over to the table.
And I think that Alice will beeline via the rest of the table and say she hasn't been here for over a year. And she'll nod towards the young lady. Elena's the one to talk to. Apparently, she does the booking.
We need to figure out where she went.
Yeah. Does one of you want to come, or shall I have the conversation on my own?
No hablo español.
And then,
if you need us, just scream. We'll be there.
Alice will continue on, and then just kind of, she's got her cerveza in hand, and just slide into the booth next to Elena and say, excuse me, señorita.
She kind of closes her book and looks up and smiles. And says, good evening.
Sorry for bothering you, and she'll put the flyer on the table again. We were actually hoping to see Miss Leticia de la Luz, but I understand from the barman that she hasn't been here for over a year.
No, she sang here a few years ago, and then back in I don't know, 33, I guess. She that's when she changed her name. She used to be Rosario Maria Lopez.
Oh.
And then she started doing this more experimental stuff. Then this here was when their first album came out. I mean, some of her fans really liked it. I didn't care for it too much. It got a little bit weird for me. I started actually humming songs to myself whenever she was on stage because I didn't want to hear it really. But it's she she was going in a very innovative direction, I guess. And then I don't know, she sort of stopped coming around. She had her boyfriend, manager, whatever, I think was trying to move her on to bigger and better things, but I haven't heard about anything from her since.
So that was about a year ago?
A little over a year, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any idea where we might be able to find her, or somebody who was closer to her?
Not really. We never got into it that much. I mean, I think she taps the flyer. I think Javier Luna and his people were on the album, and I think maybe they're still working with her in some capacity. They're usually here on Friday nights. You could maybe ask them.
Okay. What night is it, by the way? Now?
It is Tuesday, so you got a couple days.
Tuesday. Friday. Okay. Do they perform other nights elsewhere, or?
I'm sure they do. They're ones that they've been going all around town trying to make it big. They have had a little more money in the past month or so. I think they're actually started to tip Tonio for a change.
Oh.
I don't know their schedule, unfortunately.
Okay. It's actually, quite urgent that we get in contact with Letitia. So is there any way that you could get us into contact with Javier?
I usually don't see them until they come here. I don't think he has a phone. I don't know how is something wrong?
It's Letitia's aunt from America asked us to seek out her niece. There's some goings on there that she wants her niece to come up to the United States.
And she kind of gives you a look that's like, really? But she doesn't say anything. She says, okay. If I hear from them before Friday, I can tell them to try and get in touch with you. I don't know.
That would be good. And she'll, I think, she's not going to give them the address, but she'll say there's if they could leave a note, she'll scribble down a note, so like, dear Javier, we are looking for Letitia. Can you help us? And then leave a note, and then she'll say post office where she's in the morning going to open a postal box for a Senor Del Toro.
Okay, sure.
So, yeah.
Okay, so she looks at it and nods and says, I'll do what I can to get in touch. I wish I could help you more. Well,
you've already been very helpful. So who's on tonight?
Today is a guy who calls himself Hector. It's just one man and his guitar, but he writes his own songs, and some of them are pretty good.
Okay. Well, no open mic night tonight? Do you have that?
No.
Okay.
No, the manager wants me to keep sure there is a certain standard of competency here.
Okay, probably wise. So, well, thank you very much, Elena. And
I'm sorry, your name was?
Alice.
Okay, Alice. And she, kind of gives you a firm handshake. And
and Alice is going to head back to the table with her cerveza and sit down and say, well, she hasn't been here for a year, and she'll kind of relay what she knows. The Javier is probably is the one who was also on the band and also on that album, if I understand correctly. But he only comes in on Friday nights. So she doesn't know where he'd be. I've left a note for him to reach out to us via the post office. We need to open a post office box there tomorrow. Yeah.
I think I'm going to have a few more of these. And I point to my beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think tomorrow it might be cheaper for us to stay at his apartment than the hotel.
Whose apartment?
Mr. Brooks. I get a sense that he's coming home soonish. And if we can get in there via Sal's assertion, maybe there's a backdoor servant's entrance somewhere we can get to that place. If it's been empty and abandoned, no one's gonna have issue with us bunking there for a few nights. If we get to Friday, maybe we can come back here and talk to Javier. And if Mr. Brooks and his better half come home before then, we'll be there to greet them.
Do we want to try and stake out the park tomorrow afternoon? Because that's when.
And I think that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The note that we left.
I think we need to keep a presence. Let's see if we can get into that penthouse. Let's keep a presence there. But we've got a couple other errands to do. I've got some carnations to drop off. We've got hopefully a meeting in the park, though I'm suspecting we're not going to see anybody there, but we need to be there just in case. How do we feel about inviting ourselves in?
If we can figure out a way not to do it without getting caught.
I guess then we have to think about getting in and out too. Shoot. Yeah, I just realized that's not the best idea.
Well, we need a distraction. It's not locked. We just need to somehow get past the concierge.
But that's a one-time activity, right? We're going to get away with that once. Is it a matter of either myself or Sal staking that place out from the inside? And you I think you're starting to see James I'm getting frustrated. I'm intimating that I feel like we're chasing tails right now. And you have learned that waiting is not my forte. So I'm definitely looking to accomplish something, which doesn't mean that we have to, but you can sense that that's where I am.
Well, we take care of errands tomorrow morning. How long was the drive from the park where I set up the meeting to Brooks's house?
20, 25 minutes.
20, 25 minutes. We get that done early morning, and we watch the building, see if anybody comes in, goes out.
Okay. That satisfies me.
And perhaps it's a different concierge on duty. We need somebody who hasn't seen all four of us already, and see if we can.
Brian, question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the style of clothing that was predominant in the lobby area? As far as we dress ourselves to look like that. That way, we're obviously we can try to blend in better.
Right. Exactly. Well, the concierge was in a suit.
Right.
The only resident you saw was a very old woman in functionally a muumuu. So you don't have a lot to go on. The building itself looks upscale, but also you wouldn't necessarily expect the residents to be dressing up since they're at home.
Okay. So I would look good in a muumuu.
You did not see any other mariachi outfits.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to tie one on tonight.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah, the system in cantinas like this is basically they don't sell food, but the more drinks you buy, the more food they bring you. So, like with the first round of beer, you get a bowl of tortilla chips. With the second round, you get a couple different salsas, and then by the end of the night, you've probably got some tacos carnitas, on there. So yeah, you are certainly, unless anyone else stops you, you are certainly entitled to have a good time.
I think Alice is going to join him.
Okay.
I need a night off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That will be the designated driver.
Oh, what a good guy. And what about Adrian?
So if you want, I can take over. I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind it.
Then he'll be light on drinks, but he'll have one or two.
Okay. Yeah, so for the first time in a while, certainly for the first time since Vegas and possibly longer than that, you were able to sort of take a few hours to breathe and let yourselves go. No one appears to be hunting you. There's not any, there are no extra mouths in this bar as far as you can tell. Although there are probably a couple moments where, James, even as you're sort of drinking and laid back, it's like you think you see something out of the corner of your eye and look over and it's not there, because part of your brain is still almost kind of expecting that.
Oh yeah.
Which just, encourages the further consumption.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Make that two.
But yeah.
But keeping a close mind on the nose to mouth ratio in this bar.
Fair enough. As far as you can tell, it is still 1-to-1.
Good.
Yeah, and the night passes without incident. I imagine James and maybe to some extent Alice need to be carried to the car, or at least assisted.
Assisted for sure.
The musician.
Alice is walking very deliberately.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm totally under control. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, I've had that one.
Hey, maybe we should let Alice drive.
Yeah. No, that's a good. Yeah. Move over, Sal. I'll do it.
Salvador,
I'm
Salvador
fine.
Ricardo, get your ass in the driver's seat right now.
All right, don't put me in the back. I sit up front and then gonna collapse against.
Yes, you do, Alice. Yes, you do.
It's like before you've gone a block, Alice is asleep.
And Sal, at some point during the evening, you get the closest thing you're ever going to get to a James drunk "I love you" man. At some point, I turn to you and go, "You're okay."
Well, thanks for that. I think.
But yeah, and I think since I know we had a hard stop here, I think that's probably a good place for us to, draw to a close, have a nice sort of happy ending for a while,
Yeah,
and
that's nice.
we will pick up in the hungover morning next time.
That sounds wonderful. Let's jump to credits. We got a lot to talk about on the other side. We'll be right back.
For sure.
All right, we are back.
We are back. And of course, we want to talk about stars and wishes, about what's been going on here. And Craig, I want to start with you because, in addition to the obligatory stars and wishes, you mentioned that James is getting frustrated. And
Yes.
I want to hopefully make sure that Craig isn't also getting frustrated and say, okay, all right.
No. I think as I am learning James more and more, Brian, and I've been spending a lot of time thinking about his background and what he's familiar with, right? So this type of investigation thing used to be my bread and butter. It used to be what I do, but not only is there this supernatural element that James is not comfortable with. I think that when he was a cop in Chicago, he would just start breaking down doors, right? Start throwing people
Because you
into.
could do that.
Yeah, exactly. He had what I call blue privilege, right? He would just be a cop and he would be a juggernaut, and the accountability back then was even less than what it is now, for law enforcement. And I think he is recognizing how effective Adrian and Alice are in their approach, and I think James recognizes he is not capable of that. And so there's a little bit of a sense of impetus here, right? Where I'm I'm not leading this investigation anymore. And I think I'm coming to peace with that. And if I am a hammer and I need some nails. But yeah, no, it's not a Craig frustration. It is
Okay,
definitely a
good.
James frustration. No question about it.
All right.
So stars for me, you know what? It's going to be very specific, Brian. And this has become a bit of a rabbit hole for me, is exploring GM descriptions and how much a GM describes. And for a long time I was in the school of, I'm going to paint every number in this picture for you. What I'm realizing and becoming more comfortable with as a GM is painting enough, but leaving a lot of room for the player to paint the rest, and being comfortable with that, and being comfortable with my players may not have the exact same picture I have, and may not even have the exact same picture each one of them have, but realizing that if you leave them room to paint, they're going to paint a much more vivid picture than you could ever describe. And I think you nailed that in the at the bar. You gave me just enough to understand what type of place this was, where it falls kind of in the hierarchy, versus dive bar versus fancy pants bar. And that moment was very real for me, and it stood out for me because you left me a lot of room to kind of finish the bar. So well, hats off on that. That was my star, and a lot of that has to do with this fascination I have with the level of GM description that's needed.
I've been picking up some of that. I mean, obviously, there are games like, Brindlewood Bay and Public Access where you're explicitly asking the players
Right.
to sort of finish the scene.
Yep.
And I'm still a little bit too much of an old school GM to do that in a lot of cases. But I think in this case, I try to give you enough information that you would know, hey, there is likely to be a bottle of tequila somewhere in this,
Right.
enough to get, let you establish where you are.
Well, and I'm a fan of that paint the scene type
For sure.
GMing, but that's for specific types of games, right?
Mhm.
I would not invoke that in this game.
Mhm.
So I'm with you on that. And that's specifically for certain types of games where it is a collaborative world building. That's not what this game is. So that was my star. Wishes. It's a me wish. I suddenly am very worried about this woman. So I'm wishing to see what's going on here. I think I mentioned, well, the credits were rolling. That picture and the systematic, um, destruction of all of the pictures in that freaking house really, creepy as shit, which is great. That's supposed to be
Mhm.
happening in this game. But that really like stuck with me, and also is sticking with James. So, for better or worse, white knight syndrome and James now really really I think is fixated on this woman. So it'll be interesting how he reacts if and when he either comes across her or gets a sense of her fate and where she is. So that's my wishes is to find out who this woman is and where she fits in. Is she participant, victim, what's going on? So that's my wish.
Excellent. I can say that as long as we continue this, you will eventually find out more about her.
Beautiful.
Chris, how about you? Give me some stars and wishes.
For my part, I believe the stars, just the work that Alice and Doc did on getting information.
Yeah.
Without that information, we would definitely be caught in a quagmire, going nowhere. So that is very, very, very good job on that. Wishes, I'm not sure. Sal for himself is kind of like the bull in the china shop. Prior to this, he operated in Chicago. Everybody knew he was a mobster. Everybody feared him
Mm,
because he was a mobster. Now he finds himself outside of that sort of environment, and he realizes that yeah, he can't just grab bats and guns and he needs to be a little more quiet.
Fair
So
enough. So are you hoping to get more situations where you can throw your weight around, or is it just a matter of seeing
um
Sal adapt?
I think the more pleasure for me would be seeing Sal adapt,
yeah.
because again, he's got
Mhm.
a sandbox in Chicago that he can play in with that sort of behavior. But he realizes that one, he needs to be more quiet about things, and two, he needs to be more analytical.
Mm,
Again, he just charges in
yep.
without
Mhm.
thought, and he's happy to bash doors down and things like that.
I
Well, at
feel
some
like
point, it's going to come back and bite.
yep.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, it's also going to bite the rest of the game. So he has to start playing a little smarter and get out of the mindset that I'm a mafiosi. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
I'm doing what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're in a world now where there are repercussions where there
Yes,
maybe weren't
absolutely.
before.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Oddly, the parallels between the two of us is super interesting, considering which
Mhm.
sides of the badge we have lived before now, but we're both in that same scenario. That's super
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, I like it. Mac, how about you?
Sorry, my partner's mouse is very sensitive, so it takes me like 5 minutes to get to the unmute button.
Yep.
Um, I think I actually want to continue that trend of talking about the adaptation because it's really fascinating that it's settled into very much tying into not just our backstories of what we did, but our literal like geographical location.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sal and James always in Chicago. Adrian left for Europe to go to study. Um, Alice was in the war, the Great War. Um, so seeing that the two who are kind of more used to the actual travel being the ones who are adapting the quickest
Yes.
is really interesting to see how like the kind of like homebodies are really struggling with being in a place where they aren't
Great call.
known, they don't have their position or status, they don't really have the know-how. So the two that already are used to being kind of like the odd ones out in a location, kind of finding their own element in it is very interesting for me to see.
Yeah, Alice and Adrian are sort of used to operating without a support system,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and the other two are definitely not. So I
Yep.
love that.
But even on that level, there's still that intricacy between Adrian and Alice, where Adrian kind of got more on the bureaucratic side of, trying to, well, it was like in the early 1930s, trying to get people into Austria while it was still safe there. So
Right.
kind of like getting them out of Germany, get them over to Austria. So he was very much that undertone, kind of very much watch every word you say, watch every step you take. Whereas Alice also has that ability, but was a war medic and is kind of
Right.
more concerned about not getting killed. So is going to be very pragmatic about everything. Will say everything straight, but knows when to hide certain information.
Uh,
So there's
y-
those intricacies in every single character about how they're handling this.
And I imagine Alice is used to being in triage mode, right? Making very fast decisions where you don't have control, and you've got to frickin' figure it out.
Mhm.
And I think that Naomi's done a wonderful job of making that believable in this scenario. So I'm with you 100%, Matt.
Alice has definitely become a leader of sorts. Just
No
definitely
question.
knows what she's doing. Even if she doesn't know, she's gonna figure it out quicker than you.
Yep.
So just stand behind her.
Yeah.
She's got this.
Right.
Um, and I think for my wishes, it's one that I don't think will actually. It wouldn't make sense for it to happen anytime soon. But one of my favorite things about playing in long-term campaigns is seeing the impact that the party starts having on the world around them.
Hmm.
So I really want to see, based on these different personalities that we have, if we start, actually getting some notability that we don't want, but we're gonna unfortunately have to pick up. How are we gonna be seen by these people who either are coming after us or wanting to help us? Because it's already kind of shown that like Sal and James, we saw the notes that the guy was writing for, like to watch us, they were the ones who was like, okay, watch out for these two. They're they're all business. They have the guns. And then for Adrian it was like, um, woman,
Yeah.
woman, Adrian, a spindly little nerd over there.
Mhm.
So seeing if that starts to change any whenever they realize, oh, Alice knows what she's doing and Adrian is figuring things out a bit too much.
Right.
So seeing
Yeah.
if it changes at all or if it stays the same,
Yeah.
It's mostly a question of how many survivors you leave.
entirely. But yeah, I
Uh,
think those are my stars and wishes.
I will say that Del Toro, the guy that Alice met, a large part of his thing, because to go a little bit behind the scenes, he is literally like, as you surmise, he's like, I'm not happy with the way this is going. I don't think I'm happy with the person I'm working for. So while he was, yes, following and watching you guys as a part of his job, he was also like, all right, are these people competent? Are they, you know, are they potentially a way out for me,
Mm.
or do I get and so to give you an idea of the ramifications of your actions on the local scale, so sort of keeping an eye on what you were doing gave him enough that he thought he could approach in a non-hostile manner. So it's already starting.
Wonderful.
Naomi, talk to me about your stars and wishes.
I think, well, 2 stars. One is I just love the scene at the very beginning when Adrian and James and Sal are heading to the building, and just how they're positioning themselves. It was so real. So that I really really enjoyed that, and just the dynamic in the lobby. And I think other than that, it's just, this is really an investigative RPG. I'm trying to figure it out, and what's this lead, and we're leading to dead ends, and it's not quite dead ends, but it's I think that Alice is not the same frustration, but she's trying to find, okay, where am I being pointed? How do we move on? And that I think that she's also getting to a stage like, okay, we need to get into that apartment, but how do we do it without getting caught?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying that part of the game, and yeah, so very different from other types of RPGs.
Mhm.
Right.
So and I'd say wishes. Yeah, I hope we get into the apartment. I'm really
Well,
curious.
that's
And
really up to you, isn't it?
yeah, no, and I love the idea that I think it would be so much fun if we're in there, and if we can ambush them when they're coming back. So, and perhaps that's also kind of a wish for Alice, that like I want more leads. I want more leads.
I mean, I would suggest adding another wish of also
Yeah,
getting in to the
yeah,
penthouse. Great. Getting out also
yeah.
preferable at some
Yeah,
point.
one thing
Yeah,
at a time.
and we can't blow it up.
Horizontal.
Now we met Abuela and her perrito. We can't do that.
No, it's funny you say that. Like at that moment, I'm like, oh, Brian, do you realize what you created when you put that NPC in this game?
Well, maybe if we make a smaller explosion.
Right. It's
On the
always,
third
small.
floor.
She's on the third floor. It's up there. There should be fine.
it's one of those classic things that you have all of these pre-written characters who are integral to the plot, and you know how you're going to play them and what voice you're going to give them and anything, and then it's the random goblin in the corner bar
Yeah.
that suddenly
Yeah,
becomes the most important character to
Yeah.
all the PCs. So it's
Yeah.
a long tradition,
And Juan, of course.
Always awesome.
Juan and his
Oh,
bandit.
God. Mm.
Yeah.
So for me, my star was again probably that whole intro moment of everybody. I mean, the visual of Adrian kind of speed walking to get ahead of Sal, who was just trundling through in a mariachi outfit with a baseball bat, is such a strong visual. I was right there, and that whole scene I had a lot of fun with. And then Wishes, you guys are so close to breakthroughs in several different directions. I'm certain that next episode we'll get to some significant conclusions and discoveries, and I'm looking forward to that, because this makes an interesting turn at a certain
Oh,
point.
that's super cool.
I also wish that we were playing again in 2 weeks, but we're not, because Mr. Craig has a personal life or something. So we'll
It's
see
a
you.
really bad hangover. They need a few days. We
That's
make it
right.
to
They need a
Friday
couple
already.
of-
Probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, we'll be back in 4 weeks.
Yep, exactly. So thank you all for watching and supporting the show, and
Yeah.
we'll see you next time.
And for those of you that are watching us live, in less than 4 weeks, and just this coming Thursday, Forbidden Lands is back. So we get to see Brian on the other side of the screen again, and we figure out what the hell the 4 of them are going to do, because that is also a very precarious, interesting situation happening in Forbidden Lands. So, Elric, thanks for coming. Thank you. You take care as well, and we'll see everybody soon.
Take care, all.
Bye.
Cheers. Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.